Hi, I'm Patak. I'm going to give you a brief guide to Mercs today on the original mode. So when you go into the options, you'll see you've got the option for original mode here. We're going to play it on normal. It starts out with Mega Crash on the B button and your shots on A and C. What I like to do is put Mega Crash on A, and then I've got two buttons side by side that I can use for mashing, and you really do need to do that. You have to keep rapid fire off when you play this game, that's one of the rules. So we're going to come out of here, go into original mode, and then when you're at this screen here, if you're using life split, you can do a split of minus 8.14 seconds from when you press start here. Don't touch anything here, just wait for it to start. And I'll just show you that you've got a couple of crates on the landscape here. They contain the power-ups in the game, which are speed boots, which make you faster, you need all of those. Up gauges, which take your health from 32 at the moment up to 48 health, 4 points of time, which is really important as well. Power-ups, which make you more powerful. At the moment we can only fire one weedy little stream of bullets, which is absolutely useless. We want to be able to fire a lot of them at once. You can also get M-bombs, which are what you see in the M bit on the bottom right of the status screen. And medals, which are a currency that we spend in shops to upgrade everything. So this walkthrough is designed for beginners. I hope I've made it fairly comprehensive. I haven't done this sort of thing before, so if it's not clear, please tell me. We're going to try and take you through the game so that you should be able to finish in less than 15 minutes and not have too many troubles while you're doing it. So, the first thing is movement, and if I move up here like this, you can see that Rifle, who is your character, is fairly thin. His hitbox isn't so big here either. But if I start to move diagonally, and I do a frame advance, did you see that? He didn't move. So sometimes when you move diagonally, the game is inserting blank frames. So diagonal movement is always slower than horizontal or vertical, unless you're going between planes. And it's really important to remember that, because if you imagine just even doing this, it winds up being a lot slower. And there are going to be times when you've got grunts at odd angles, like, I don't know, not at the points of the compass, let's say, and you want to try and kill them. What you have to try and do is flick into a diagonal movement for a very brief moment and then flick out of it, so that while you're doing that your bullets will fire, but you won't lose any time. So the first thing we're going to do is get this power icon here. That's going to increase our bullets. When you're going into an icon from the right hand side, you need to come further into it than from the left, and the collision tends to happen with Rifle's shadow or his feet. That's the same for when you're going into a shop, into a tent, a lift, anything that's got an enter symbol on it. So, go there, move up and avoid those grunts, and then we're going to go to the right hand side here with these fences, break these, move along the shoreline and try and avoid going into the water, because just as diagonal movement slows you down, water slows you down even more. So, try and mash, avoid these bullets as well, don't be afraid to come back and kill those guys if you need to. This crate 3 medals, this crate 1, up here for an M-bomb, and once I'm following the shoreline, here's some speed boots, that makes us faster as well. Now one note on these bullets that you can see the orange circle that the grunt just fired. That bullet is actually 4 times its size in terms of its hitbox. So imagine that bullet is the top left corner of a 2x2 square, and that's how to avoid those. Grunts are much bigger in the hitbox diagonally as well, so there will be times when a grunt is coming towards you diagonally and you're going to get hit. You can't do too much about it. Anytime you get hit, you lose 20 frames movement, which is 1/3 of a second on NTSC, you get frozen in place. You do, however, get 70 extra frames vulnerability after that, and you can tend to use that as a damage boost in certain areas. So we've now got 2 M's, we don't need to use any of them yet. What we're going to try and do is use most of those on the boss, and we're going to get a few medals through the levels so that we can get an extra power brick. There's a hack in the 3rd mission where we can get to full power early, and that makes that boss much easier as well. So we're going to come up here, shoot at this guy, and break these bits here. Come over, you can see I'm flicking into different angles. Get that medal, get this medal and a chicken. This white boiler suited man here If you've run low on health, kill him. He'll drop a med crate which is worth 16 health. That's the white med crates. Later in the game there are gold med crates that restore your health completely. And again, we're going to take advantage of those to give you nice safe routing. So come up here, try and flick, and then we've got a boss coming up. So this is just a Harrier jet. It's not too scary, and what you want to do is stand smack in the middle of it so that its bullets won't hit you as much. And what we're going to do is just mash a load, fire at it, and fire 2 M-bombs at it. Like this. And that's mission 1 done with. Pretty simple. And then to get to the next mission, just press start here. And there's a bit of food in these crates. You may need some of that, it's up to you. Main thing is just to keep safe, because there are going to be some assassins in this level who can do more damage. So we're going to break through this fence, go over to the right, get another pair of speed boots, and then get to a stationary tank. So, break this. Now with this here, when you've got a crate that you're coming into from the side, you've got to be careful that you're not too high on it like this, because you'll run into it and get stuck. And there are actually positions where you then can't break the crate unless you go back. So if that happens, just come back, break it, make sure you get it. Get the speed boots. And here's this tank that I was telling you about. You can see that it's timing fire on a global cycle, one of the 8 compass directions. There are turrets that give you the same problem, and we'll deal with those later on, but for now just try and get past this one safely, unlike I did, get these medals, go into the shop. So Burner's another character in the game, he's got a flamethrower, that's useless. And then you get to this screen, you can see you've got 2 power, 3 speed, which is pretty good. What we're going to do is buy the power brick below us, and buy the M-bomb on the right. But when you get to this screen, you've actually got to wait for a second before you can buy anything, so just do like this. Now just pressing C there, you can press A and C. Shop movement isn't so important right now, but come out of there. And then you're going to come over here. This guy in the black shirt, he's an assassin. Now they're a bit faster and they do a lot more damage. So really what you need to do is try and keep an eye out for him when he spawns. And then kill him. Because you can't necessarily run away from them when you're picking up power-ups as well. So this green thing is the up gauge, that adds 4 points to your health. You need the power as well. Don't be afraid to take a little bit of time here and kill this assassin, but more of them will come. So, I'll show you that again. Also note you can get stuck on the scenery here. There he is, kill him. Another one. More goodies. And that assassin there that came out of the left, I triggered him by going up slightly in the alcove halfway through. But again, be careful with that, because if you don't do that late enough, you'll get hit by some drunk bullets. I'll just show you that again. So I triggered him that time and there were no grunts there. I'm going to try and do it so that it gets me hit to go up there. So sometimes you'll get it that that assassin doesn't actually come out as early, and then he can be chasing behind you as you go up here. And there will be times he's so close that it's difficult to double back and shoot him, because he'll get so close to you that he'll kill you anyways. Then we're going to come up to a turret up here, where you've got to try and get past by firing, and then firing into him like that. Now if you want to wait there until you know there's a good moment to pass, then please feel free to do so. There's another turret on the right hand side, which is why I'm staying on the left here. And then I'm going to go up. When I've got a good moment to, just about there, I'm going to go diagonally to avoid the fire of that tank and to get some medals in this crate as well. You want to really pop into these diagonally if you can, because of the way the grunts come out. And anytime you get anything from a crate, it's going to bounce up anyways. Like that. Now then you've got to be careful again with firing too much, because if you fire too much here you will break these crates open. They're dynamite. Dynamite is bad. Don't get hit by dynamite. Even if you have to wait a moment there or take your time, just be much more careful than you otherwise would. So you can see here I've got this assassin following me. And in this case I can turn around and shoot him, or I can try and outrun him, so we can just do this. But you can see I tried to turn around and I got hit anyways, and now I'm in deep trouble. So, as I say, if you need to be a bit slower here, then you can just do it this way. You can just take it nice and slow here, come out and see what's going on. Wait for these guys to come out. So come up here, try and flick fire, and then little movements across here, and there are going to be some more assassins, turrets coming at you, until you get to that power point there. And then we're going to have a couple of turrets coming up, where, because of the way they fire, you can get past them in one go, but it's very difficult. The easy way is just to use an M to kill them both, or you can try and just kill the first one before the second one spawns like this, and then get the second one past as well. Get those things, there's a bit of food there. Come up, break this. And stay in the centre, and use 2 M's if you need to on this guy. It's only this central pillar that's the hitbox. So as I say, another way you can do this is you use an M there. Get this food if you need to. But be careful, for example, here that your bullets aren't going to go out to the side and then you won't be as effective. And you can see there I was out of time, so I actually got killed. Because those turrets operate on a global cycle, so depending on when you spawn them, you won't necessarily be able to get past them easily. So again, be careful not to get stuck in the scenery here, move up a little bit if you can there. That's a timing thing really, it takes some time to get used to that. And if you're feeling really brave in the future when you're stronger at the game, you can try and get past these 2 turrets in one go. Tight window that, because if you get hit, you end up losing time on the cycle. You see, they got stuck in the crate there as well. So try and get past the turrets in one go. The aim is to do this. And you can see there I missed as well. This is why it is probably easiest for you right now just to use an M on this, because if you get it wrong and you get hit for a lot of life, you're going to struggle later in the level. There we go, nice and calm. You can see you can give the crates a bit of damage, but you don't want to kill them altogether. So, up to here. Stay central, but slightly to the left, because that missile will hit you otherwise. And that's mission 2. So we've now got 11 medals, which means we can make a double buy in the next shop, which is quicker. It's always quicker to buy 2 things rather than 1. So we're going to go straight ahead here. If there's any grunts, try and avoid them. Just ignore that man there. Launcher, again, he's useless. Buy that M, buy that power, come out. Now, when you come up to the next section, there is a jeep here which is just going to spawn grunt after grunt after grunt. They always jump out. So the only way forward is to take a little detour here, all the way over to here. Kill those 2 crates, get the upgauge, and then you've got to wiggle through here, and you've got to get past the right hand side of this tank. Now be exceedingly careful when you do this, because if you touch that tank, it's going to wipe your health bar out. Just watch this. Oops. So even if you get stuck in the wall, even if you get hit by a grunt, always avoid that tank. If you've got grunts coming at you from an odd position, you can shoot then fire. It's just a matter of practice. Power brick, and speed boots. And you can see here that this jeep is firing missiles. If you get stuck on the right hand side, just wait for it to fire 2 waves and then get past. Again, there can be grunts coming out of this jeep as well. Come up here for some roast chicken now. Here's another point, when you come onto these bridges it's very easy to get stuck here. But what you really want to do is be on the most left side of this bridge that you can, because if you're a couple of pixels over like this, then when a grunt's coming at you, you've got less room to wiggle out the way of its bullets. It's always best to be on the leftmost side even if you've lost a bit of time. And then coming up here is another crate of our favourite stuff, dynamite. And again, the simplest thing to do is going to be to shoot it from afar, wait for it to explode, and then go through. Don't try and walk through the explosion. I'll show you that again. Out here. Get the up gauge. Make sure to get all these medals as well, because we're going to try and get an emergency amount of medals to get full health in the last level. That's okay. So what I don't want you to do is this. Just take it nice and safe, don't be afraid to wait there. If you're really impatient, you can use one of the M-bombs to destroy it and use the invincibility frames to go through. But I don't recommend that, because M-bombs are more valuable than just wasting them on something like that. Then go straight through, go to the right, get these medals and this M. Come across the front of these jeeps nice and carefully, and then destroy this hut. And there's another med crate here for half your health. That's 16 points more. Come up here, don't use that crate there. Now, again, when you come to this point on this bridge, stay low. What we're going to do next is get the flak jacket, and that is basically essential for this game. If you don't get it, you'll die, because it halves your damage. But the screen is going to try and scroll up on you when you get to the end of this bridge. So you're going to go along, and then at the end of this bridge you're going to move diagonally down, fire into the crate and let the flak jacket bounce up into you. Otherwise it'll despawn. Don't worry if that doesn't happen and you don't get it, there is still a way to get it. But this is the best way of doing it. So along here, and grab it like that. And then you'll see we've got it there, that halves the damage, which effectively doubles your life bar. Just go through here again. So coming up the right hand side to get the power-ups. Let's say I miss it, just wait for a pair of missiles to come across, 1, 2, then go across. Nice and safe. You can move right angles if you want, just whatever's safest, just don't touch those jeeps. Get this, and then let's say for whatever reason that you're late trying to shoot this and you miss it, like this. Well, in this case you're okay because you've moved down enough and you can still grab it. But if you didn't, if you missed it, then I'll show you a little trick where there's a crate here with a medal in, and we want to get both these crates if we can, but we can't actually get to this one. But it's still got a little bit of its sprite on screen, so press an M-bomb here, like that. It'll bounce up and you'll still get it. So if all else fails, try an M-bomb there. But if you don't get the flak jacket, just reset the game and start again. It's too important to carry on without it. I'll make a save state in a minute. Please excuse the fact that this is not exactly the cleanest tutorial, but I've not done this before. And these M-bombs that you're getting, they're worth a couple of seconds each, so it's always worth detouring for an extra one. And again, don't be surprised if you get stuck here every now and again. It's easy to overreact. Shoot that, get these medals, enter here. So you're in another shop and you should have 7 medals. I want you to buy another M and then come out. Now, we've got a couple of power-ups on this bridge here. That's another M, another power brick. And then we're going to come across here onto this bridge. Now if your health's high, you can just walk through these 3 dynamites because you'll only explode on one. If your health's low, it's okay to wait. It's just a bit slower. Come up here. Be careful of grunts around. And then what we're going to do is something that's not intended to be done in the game. We're going to get to full power early by using the trick we mentioned just before with the M-bomb bouncing up a crate that's off screen. So we're going to go across this invisible bridge here. Up, down, up, over to here. And we get the up gauge, the power and the health crate. And then you've got to be a little bit careful with this because it can go wrong. But what I want you to do is just gently come up here. Like that. Go over to this leftmost crate. You can't get it. Use an M-bomb. And there you go, 10 power. What that means is we're going to be able to do a quick kill on the next boss. Really useful. Come up here, come to the middle bridge. Don't go shooting anything here, try and stay on the left side. Because there's a boiler-suited man coming down who's going to give you some dynamite. You want to get past it, so you want to shoot him as late as you can, like this. Because otherwise that'll spawn on top of you. Come up here, that's dynamite as well, so just try and move around it. There's some spinach here if you need it. When you get to this screen you should hear the boss music starting. And what you've got to do is try and get in as close to him as you can, but it doesn't matter if you're a couple of inches away, on a diagonal. Now, it can be difficult to get into diagonal motion and stay there in this game. For some reason the game doesn't like diagonal movement. Just like this, and then mash for all you can. And because you're on 10 power, it should die within about 6 seconds. Nice and simple. And don't worry if you can't get into diagonal, just stay horizontal, that should work as well. If you do that, try and stay fairly low on it. Just make sure all of its bullets are in the hitbox there. And then move into it if you need to. Nice and simple. Now if for any reason you couldn't get that 10th power brick, come down here instead. I'll just show you. You see that my bullets are pretty much all going into the panzer. You want to stay on the right hand side of it if this is what you're doing, because there'll be a giant fireball that comes through the middle that can hurt you otherwise. But again, you need to find the right cadence for your mashing to make sure that your bullets are coming out at the right speed. You're just going to keep firing until it's nearly on top of you, and then use an M-bomb at the end if you need to. So just like this, be careful of those missiles as well, so notice if one hits you and move back in. You shouldn't need to use an M-bomb. And that's mission 3. So now we're doing pretty nicely, we're at full power, we've got 6 M's, and we're confronted with this scenario here, and this is a bog, so we're going to be moving slower, and there are going to be some different enemies coming in. He says, they're not appearing. These blue guys, and I'll just show you how much damage they do. So this is how much damage a normal grunt does. That's how much damage one of these guys does. It's massive. And the problem is that these guys can come up in packs, and they've got a much wider range of attack than the usual grunts. So the way I've found is best to deal with these guys is to be willing to use 45-degree angles to move away. So, from here, go up into the bog, move 45 degrees, try and get away if you can. Sometimes you'll get a couple of them spawning on top of you, there's not much you can do about that. What you can do is move to the right here and give yourself a bit of time, see if any spawn. If you're coming from the food, try and come to it from this line rather than lower down, so that you can move up or down away from any of these guys as necessary. You see the reason I tried to move 45 degrees, it didn't quite work. And I've got an absolute host of these guys coming onto me right now. It's random. Depends on what frame you finished the last level. might be wondering what you can do about this when you're getting stabbed left, right and centre. There is something you can do. You can make little wiggles to try and confuse them. Like that. And when they go back down like that, you've confused them. So come up here, break these medals, get those, go in the shop. And we're introduced to Laser, and he's one of the heroes of the game because he's only got 4 power, but his laser weapon has a couple of glitches to it. 1, it's incredibly powerful, and 2, it can actually go beyond the bounds of the screen. So later on there's going to be a boss which we're going to be able to hit while he's not on the screen. And to do that we're going to have to be careful, so we're going to give Laser some power and some M's. That's why we've got those medals. So, go over here, press once, when it says who's going to carry it, press up to get the laser, and press C, and that's giving him a second M. Then exit out the shop, and we're going to go into this bog here, and we're going to get an M and a couple of power bricks for Laser, to make everything easier. What you want to do with that is only go into Laser at the last minute before you collect everything and then switch back out again, because you need his health bar to stay fairly high. Now it's not the end of the world if you get hit, there is a gold crate that we can use later on, but it's best if you try and stick with rifle. So, up here, fastest way is diagonally in. Pause, change character with up and down. Change character again. Now there's a couple of medals over here, and on the right hand side there's going to be an alcove where you can get an extra M. That's optional. It's probably best if you grab it if it's your first time playing, because the more M's you have the better. Because as you can realise, if you're in a really bad situation in a bog, you can just randomly fire an M, kill everything around you, keep your health. And a lot of this game is just about balancing health against balancing how much resources you have. So you come over here, try and avoid these guys. Can be hard. When you're up here, make sure you move onto the land as quickly as you can, speed up. Like that. When you've got some health, a big 5 medal, an M-bomb and an up page. And whether you came from there or from the left side, you've got this 5 crate row of dynamite. And again, be careful not to break them, because you'll have to wait extra time. If you need to take your time getting through the gaps, that's okay. If you want to just boost through by getting hit by a grunt, that's okay. We've got some more assassins here. Again, just try and flick into them and kill them. Try not to let them come at you from behind. The next section is super laggy. You can lose 3 or 4 seconds. There's not too much we can do about it, but there is one manipulation we can do where when you get to about here, you can start to move slightly to the right and try and spawn the speedboat that's going to come up from the right hand side. Here we haven't succeeded, it's on the left. But ideally you want it to be in this frame here. Then there's an M you're going to grab from that crate. You're going to kill a green diggy and you're going to go on the lake. I'll just show you what that is. And as you can see, I'm just using an M there, but they're still going to spawn, so it's questionable whether it's any good to do that recently. Change character, grab these. Change over. Again, don't be afraid to use horizontal movement to get away from bullets. Oftentimes it's much better to take a little detour and avoid getting hit. So up here, that's about the ideal position you want that boat to be in. And then you need to kill the green boat as well, get the M and go in the water. So I'll save a save state here. So when you're in this boat, you're going to be able to fire plumes of water in front of you. But if you look at the red number in the top left corner, that's on 2374 right now. That's how much lag we've got going on, and if I just fire a bunch of stuff, you'll see that number rapidly increases. So the aim of the game is to try and get across here as quickly as you can without too much water coming in the way, without the boats getting in your way. If you need to fire diagonally to kill one of these boats, then do. But you should always try and come up to this aqueduct from the right hand side and fire it towards the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That was not quite right in positioning. Try it again. You can see lots of lag here from the plumes. You just keep firing until it goes through. You'll notice if you do it wrong, you'll get stuck here and you'll have to move around. But it's harder to get stuck from the right. It's far easier to get stuck if you're from the left here. So in that case I was able to kill a boat because he was right in front of me. And I got through quicker there as well. Now if you've got any lag at all coming up to this next section, if you've got a boat behind you, if you can't kill it, all you want to do is come out here. Ignore those crates and get off here. But if you don't have lag, if you're going quickly, go up this inlet of water here. Because the speedboat is marginally faster. And then you're going to come out and you're going to come up to these 5 crates. They're all goodies. You can grab all 5 of them if you want. So there's a 5 med and up gauge, a 16 med crate and the M. And at the bare minimum I recommend you get these 2 and come over to here. Come into this line here and then we've got a hovercraft boss coming up where we're going to use a laser. And if you notice there is a diamond pattern in the water, we're going to try and use that diamond pattern to make this a bit quicker. Because this hovercraft can do a lot of damage. But the key here is to manipulate him to come over to the right before he fires any of his big missiles. And what we're going to try and do is damage boost with a couple of little bullets that he fires, and then just fire straight through him. So, come up into here, wait till you see these guys start to jump like that, and then move diagonally into about this area here. Then change character to laser, and then make one shot as you're firing across diagonally here. Then go straight up but don't get too close to him and fire again. Try and get hit by one of those bullets and just keep firing. And if he starts to attack you like that and come at you, try and go straight through him and don't touch the hovercraft. If you need to change back to rifle even, just try not to get hit. And just keep firing. So again, from here, no lag, so I'm going to go up this way. Get the cheap M, into the water, diagonal, change character, fire, fire, fire. And you can see that I'm using the inlets of the water where it's lined up there. I'll show you it again. This diagonal, that diagonal. That grunt shouldn't usually be there. So then, starting the next level, you are going to need to change character again. So start, down, change character. Come over to the right, avoid all these grunts, and then notice that if I'm walking on this wood, it's slowing me down a little bit. Anytime you walk against the scenery, it treats it as if you're going diagonally, so try and avoid doing that. You can fire early and try and get that grunt away. And then try and line yourself up so all your bullets are in with this hut, and then fire away to kill it. We've another tank coming up, and the best thing to do is to move over to the left where these crates are. Grab those and then you're safe. Go in the shop, you shouldn't need to buy anything. Come straight out. Up here, ignore the crates. and then try and get into this inlet between this tank and between the wood area. And it's possible that the tank is going to hit you. If you want to be sure, you can try and damage boost off a grunt instead. Don't worry if the tank hits you, just try not to touch it. So, like that. That's not a problem. A couple of crits here. There's an M-bomb and a 5 medal. The reason we're getting all these medals through various areas that I've been showing you is that at the end of the game in Mission 8, if you've got 22 medals or more, you can make a double buy in the shop of a med crate that restores your entire health and another M-bomb, and it's really useful to do that. So try and grab these, break that jeep, and then go forward in this jeep and just go straight up, because again the jeep is much faster than anything else. Now if you really want to, if Laser is low in health and you're worried about him, you can go up through this tree here, break this tree here for dynamite and try and kill the jeep, or even not use the jeep. Wait for it to go out and break these trees here. And there's a gold med crate. Now when there's a gold med crate in the field, all you have to do is walk into it, let it fill your health, change character, it'll fill his health as well. Come out here, go into this shop, you can buy another M if you want to, and then into this maze here. So around, up, and try and stay low and just move up in gradual amounts in here, because you'd be surprised how often you can end up with grunts coming from below you if you just go to the top straight away, like this. Around and again. And just keep firing every time you move up a level. So like fire, 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 fire. You get up to here, do not fire when you're here. If you fire here, you risk destroying those crates with dynamite in. It's much better to take a hit from a grunt if you have to. I'll show you that again. You can see that grunt there nearly caused me trouble. Come to here, that top crate sometimes will not spawn, but don't rely on that. Now, the best thing to do here is probably going to be just to walk through the middle of them without killing any of the dynamite crates, and take a hit if you need to. If you want to be advanced, you can try and shoot the crates as you go through them to give you a bit of room. Like that. Come up here and be aware that you're going to have to move to 12 o'clock or 9 o'clock to kill some grunts that are around you. Like that. And then try and move as flush through this wood section as you can to avoid that tank missile. Here's a health crate here, so break this. And then the critically important thing at the end of this level, do not deviate from this line here. Doesn't matter if a grunt hits you, try not to fire too much because you'll cause lag as well. You just look in the top left, all the lag I'm causing. Don't deviate from that line, because there's a point just ahead of me here, which is a reference point in the wallpaper of the ground, which shows you where to stand for the boss. Now, oftentimes here, you're going to have grunts on the left hand side of the screen, and this is an auto-scrolling section where there are going to be bikes coming across you. Like that. Do not, under any circumstances, fire across any of those bikes, or any of the jeeps, because the game will add more and it'll cost you 2 or 3 seconds. If you've got grunts coming over from the left, wiggle about on the right hand third of the screen, up to about here, and try and get them over to this side here. Move up, move down, so that you can kill them before you get to the boss, because if one of them stays on the screen you will be in trouble for the boss. Once they're all dead, change character, and then what you want to do is move diagonally with laser up to about this point here. Roughly there. And you must be in diagonal position for this to work properly. So once you get a good diagonal position, even if you're an inch or two away from this, try not to worry too much about it, because with extra M's that we've got here and the extra power, you shouldn't die. So this is pretty good. Count those jeeps as they go by, there are 6 of them. Once the 6th one is started, you want to start pressing B and C fairly fast, but not mashing fast, because Laser's gun is not so reliable, and sometimes if you press too slowly, you'll lose frames. Now, from here, I'm going to show you what happens. What happens is this Jeep comes on screen and fires fireballs, but to the left and to the right of it are a couple of Jeeps that are off screen. You would think that you can't hit them, but with laser you can actually fire through the top of the screen and damage them. So what we're going to be able to do is kill the left Jeep before it even gets on the screen, and then focus on the other two by using an M-bomb to get inside its hitbox without being damaged and kill it. So if I just frame advance this here, you'll see that that just missed me. Sometimes you'll get hit, it's not so bad. The main thing is to avoid getting hit by the Jeeps themselves. So to go from here, you're going to fire 5 times through this middle Jeep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. As soon as that 5th shot has come up, I want you to move up and face the right hand Jeep and start firing into him as well. 1. Get a second shot away if you can. Looks like I'm not going to be able to here, you have to be careful with this. And then use an M before he touches you. And what that does is makes you invincible, so you can move over, go into the middle of them, and fire across both of these Jeeps here. Now don't worry about the middle Jeep going down right now. And you can see that we've killed the left Jeep immediately. Now if the middle Jeep's gone down, what you can do is stay here, fire down at that one and use an M. And that will work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up, M, and kill them. The middle Jeep coming down is not something we've solved yet. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't go down, all you have to do is use a second M while you're still in the hitbox and fire straight across the way, and that should work. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up. Doesn't even matter if you miss that left Jeep, he's not going to hurt you. If, in the event, for whatever reason, you get hit too much, and you're worried about losing your character, just swap back out and deal with those guys separately. It's not worth losing your character, because you'll see there's a massive great death animation that follows that if that happens. Let me just show you how long it takes to die. All that time, 2 seconds, you can't do anything. That's how you do that boss. Don't worry if you've got an M spare, doesn't matter. So now mission 6 is where it gets a bit more important because everything's becoming more serious. Change character, go to the right. There's an island here with an M and a chicken, get those. Stay on the same path, get another M and a 5 medal, they're important. And again, try and avoid diagonal movement unless you're avoiding grunts. Get these 3 medals, come up here, into this shop. You shouldn't need anything from here, but if you want to be safe you can get a med crate. And then we're into the city. Now this bit's difficult because you've got gas tanks to get past, and what you're going to do is an ultra safe method where you go left of the first pair of tanks, fire at the missiles that come at you, and then when you get to the second individual tank you're going to try and hug its left side without touching it, because when the missiles blow, they're gas missiles and they're going to blow you back, and it takes about a second if you get knocked back all the way to get back to where you were, plus they do a lot of damage. Now there's a gas mask just up ahead that we can pick up that's going to stop you being hurt by the gas and is going to help with the blast damage. But if you get knocked by these tanks you can almost lose your entire run. So go left up to the corner of his house, about there. Don't worry about that bullet, just don't touch this tank. Fire when the missiles come, like that. And then late as you like, to avoid the corner of that tank, go up here. Now stay on the left, but if you're here for example, when this guy comes up, you're going to have to move in a bit further right to him with flicks. Because you don't want this to happen. And you get knocked all the way back there. Not only that, but you've got trapped. And now you're probably going to get hit again. For more damage. So up like this, keep firing. Out. And then quickly hug into him there. And you saw that I got knocked back much less there. Much, much less. Break these bits here. Get some food. Don't go too high here. Try and hug that tree. Because if you go too high, you'll despawn the gas mask. Come along here. You can break that gas mask and go into it. If you're quick, you can move into it as it bounces up. And then there's another pair of tanks coming up ahead. And the safest way past those is to go right angles between them. So go straight up here, on the left. Go between them. If they fire, just move to the left. Now if you want an extra M for any reason, there are 3 guys here on the left. When you spawn them. Here he is. You can either wait and get the M and go back, or you can just take this path here. Just, if you're doing that, be sure to actually get the M and not to move too far off and it despawns. Got lucky there, sometimes you'll miss them and it's quite nice. Extra health. So up here, right angle. Avoid those. If you come up here, you can get 16 points of health and a 5 medal. Just come straight up here, and then again we're going to come to a pair of tanks. So then the question is, what are you going to do with these ones? Well, again, before you touch this one, just go left, hug its left side, and then you're not going to get hurt as much. In that case we got lucky. Now coming up is one of the hardest bosses. This is the pipes boss, just like a load of missile launchers. As soon as you trigger it, you might want to use an M to avoid getting whacked by these missiles, 'cause I'll just show you how much damage these do. That's just one missile and you could get pummeled by 4 decks of them for the entire thing. So you might want to do this. Now if I just use an M here, you will see that the white shaded area is where the hitbox is. So you've got to be careful that all your bullets are inside that. However, the front 2 turrets, the left one of which was just destroyed, in front of that they can actually get in the way of the hitbox. So whether you use an M or not, what you want to do is try and destroy one of those before you start this boss. And then you can use 3 or 4 M's chained together, particularly when there are missiles coming from the outer 2 turrets towards you, and are on the side of caution with this because you'll see how soon they hit you. It's actually quite early. So an M there, just stop firing. Another M there. And another one. In this case we didn't need to worry about the gas cloud, but you can use another one if you want. You see I got knocked there because I didn't use my M fast enough. And that's the boss for 6. So you should now be in fairly good shape, you should have plenty of M's. And the idea is that we're going to use a lot of those on the next boss, which is the battleship. Now level 7 and 8 are about 40% of the game. But they're not too hard, you're just mostly going through areas trying to avoid grunts as usual. And again, flicking, knowing where they're going to come, spotting the patterns tend to be quite useful. There's a little up gauge for some health if you want to hear if you're a bit low. Come up here, come to the left. Keep firing all the time. There's a tank here that's just going to fire some missiles. Try and stay as straight onto them as you can, because if you deviate you might get hit. So try and do that. Don't try and go angled across them because you might end up with problems. Just show you here. Come up here. You can go on the left if you want to, it's super safe. You can try and go in the middle of them, it doesn't make too much difference, just don't touch them. Go into this shop. If you need some quick health, you can get half your health bar here. Then you're going to come up to a section here where you've got a couple of tanks on the left, and this second one is firing missiles. Now if you've got the gas mask, you're not so bad here, but you can still get blown back. So what I recommend is wait until it's fired, then move right. And then we've got a section where you've got a few sets of stationary turrets to get past, and a particularly safe way to do this is just to hide here until these two are fired and then move out. Come up here. When you're past this first piece of grating, start to move left and they can't touch you. Pretty simple. Then don't scroll the screen too far left because there are some turrets just on the left of me. They aren't spawned at the moment, they won't fire. Go up here, go up here. When you get to about here, you can start to move left. There's another health crate just on the left here if you need it. Right here. If you don't, grab that medal instead. Come up here. You've got to break these crates, and I want you to inch towards them slowly. Don't go all the way up towards them, because if you do that, it will actually take longer to break them. So you break those, you've got these three pink pajama men here, they fire missiles. You can get some lag here, so try and just inch them on the screen slowly. So that should look like this. Safe through there. One and safe through here. Up to the halfway point here. Over. And just inch forward. Kill these guys. Make sure to get all these guys on the bottom. If you're a bit low on health, you can go on the lower path here. This gives you a pot roast and an M. If you just want to skip that and save a second, you can go up here for a bit of spinach, which is a bit quicker. Then come up here, try not to get caught in these bits, and now there's an auto scroller, so again make sure your feet touch the enter sign, and keep your focus on these turrets and make sure you destroy all their missiles, because you don't want to get hit right now. There is a gold med crate coming up ahead if you need it, but it's better to avoid that if you can. More grunts, more pajama men, just try and kill them as you go. Sometimes you'll get a grunt throwing a bomb that's going to land on you when you get out here, don't worry about that. But again, there's a crate here. Oops. So I got hit there, and I'm just going to check whether this recorded. So sorry about that, just a mic failed. I'll show you that again. If you wait there, if you're too far over, you'll have to fire at them. One over. Again, don't walk into the scenery like that. Like that, it'll slow you down. I'll get the M because M's are useful. There's going to be a med crate on the left hand side that you can use, and that's going to fill your health entirely, but if you don't need it, if your level's above like halfway, just get the silver med crate that's going to come after that instead on the normal path, because it takes a couple of seconds to get this one here. I'll just show you, it's over here. Down like that. Into this shop, and so I missed that medal there, but I was meant to get that medal so I could have 22 for the endgame. If you've got less than 22, you could just buy an M here. So up out of the shop, Break these crates the same as before, don't go straight into them. And there's a couple more tanks. Wait till he's fired his missiles, then veer left. Wait here for the med crate if you need to. Come off these steps, come down to here. Now, the final thing here is a battleship boss, and it's really quite technical, but there's a few easy ways we can do it, and one of those is just to whack it with lots of M's. So the first section is going to be 2 turrets. You want to be just under halfway across the screen, about here. So what you're aiming for is the 2 turret boats on the top. If you stand in the middle of them and use an M, you can damage them both at the same time. So all you have to do is chain 3 or 4 M's together. And you see I was just slightly too far to the left there. So I'll try that again. You can also do it just by using 3 M's, but you've got to make sure you can shoot in between. So 1, shoot, 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 2, shoot, 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 3. That's pretty simple. And come over to the right, just before this wave in the water here, this diagonal pattern. There's going to be one of those that you've got to fire at. And all you have to do is mash fire and then use an M at one appropriate point to avoid getting hit. So I'm a little bit far to the right now. Use an M. Otherwise it's going to fire missiles at you. We'll go through that again so far. First section. You can use 2 M's on the second section if you want to as well. It's just not exactly necessary, but you can do this. See those missiles? Fire the second M. Now this next bit is really important. There's going to be a massive great whacking firebar comes at you from centre, and it will follow you in one of the 8 directions of the compass, so stay slightly off centre for this final part. Because what you want to try and actually do is be hit by the little turrets on the bottom instead. And you can use 3 M's on this section if you need to. It's hard to do a 2-cycle perfect with just 2 M's. So as soon as it comes into view and you see the hit points in the top right corner, use an M, start mashing it, and then use an M a second later, and just keep doing that like this. Because if you don't do that and you get it wrong, this might happen. You get whacked away like that, you lose a lot of time, you can lose a lot of health as well. Now ideally you should have collected enough M's, so that going into mission 8 you've got at least 4. 2 is not so good, 3 is okay. You want at least 4, no more than 5. Now mission 8 can be pretty hard, but it's okay because there's some gold med crates around. There's a couple of stationary turret pairs here that you can get by with a pattern, so it's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, over. In like that. Out, in. Over to the left. Pull early. Or you can do this. You can even do something like this. Try and use the grunts to get hit if you need to. Come past there, come into this shop, and if you've got 22 medals or more, and if you want an extra M, buy this and buy this. If you only need a bit of health, if your health bar's where mine is now, don't worry so much about it. If it's low, buy the med crate. If you can't afford to buy that med crate, then when you come out, come straight over like this. There's one here. And then avoid these rail cars, come up this middle way here, avoid the grunts. Don't worry about the medals anymore either, they're basically useless. Veer slightly out from these planes because their missiles will hit you. Up here, stay on the right hand side there, And now we've got a situation where these are going to crisscross, so if you've got a grunt in front of you, use the grunt instead, otherwise just take the hit. Come up here, avoid this, and then what I want you to do is come diagonally onto this tank, start mashing, and before you touch it, use one of your M's and then try and kill it with the remaining shots. 1 M should be enough for this, it's much quicker with that and it's much safer. Like that. Come up here, don't worry about being hit by one of those bullets, just avoid that tank. Come to here, and then you want to veer slightly out and in to get through those blast doors. Again, you can use an M, but be careful, because if you stay too long you'll end up touching the back of that tank and get hit more like this. Big hits like that. I went slightly early on the second part of that pattern because that grunt had hit me, because that's like a global timer. You can also go up this left side. Grunts will sometimes come at you from the left, but it can be difficult then to control what's happening with the grunts when you're going diagonally over here. So over here like that, jink out. Stay on the right hand side. Damage boost through there. And then one square in, up, and keep shooting him. Up here, out, and in. Do not do that if you've got any less than 3 M's left though. If you've got 4 M's you can use them on the first tank, if you've got 5 you can use 2. But do not go into here, if you can avoid it, with any less than 3 M's. So you come in here, move slightly left because of where the grunts are going to be. There is, if you absolutely need it, avoid that crate. There is a fake door here which is a shop, and you can get anything you want for just 1 medal. So if you think you're going to need it, grab one of the medals from earlier, otherwise just come out straight up here. And you see the white bit? That's the hit detection for these doors. Break these open and then stop firing as soon as you can because there's dynamite up ahead. So don't do this, for example, because you'll break the dynamite. And then what you ideally want to do, if you've got a grunt around here, you can get hit by the grunt and then break the dynamite and go through. If you have to wait, then so be it. Come up here, go on to the left or the right, it's your choice. More doors, and we're going to go into the dark. But you should be able to see the outline of the room. There's going to be grunts all around firing. Come up and to the right. Break this crate for some health and this one as well. Or if you're low, there's another gold med crate which will completely restore you here. If you're low on health, get that. It costs a couple of seconds, but it's worth it. Come through here, and you can see we've got a load of doors where just lots of grunts are coming out. And when you go on those, go low, but be aware if there's a grunt coming out when you go past, just try and fire up past him as well, like that. Come across here, and now we've got these electrical fences. And one of those will cost you 15 points of health, massive. You really can't afford to get hit by these unless you've got high health. This is why you're meant to have 3 M's, because we're going to use 2 on the final boss, and if you need to, you can use 1 to damage boost through here. But be very careful not to walk into one like this, because there goes a lot of your health. Now waiting at an electro fence costs about the same as using an M. So if you're low on M's, don't use them here. But if you need to, you can wait at this first one, or even try and damage boost through using that grunt you see there. Then before you get to the second one, about here, you can use the M and walk through both of them. If you need to wait, it's okay to wait. Make sure you have M's for the boss, don't do what I've done. Come down here. Again, you might have to fire up at some of these doors if there are grunts coming out of them, like this one here. Quite often. Mash here. Up into this section here. Now here you've got to get on a lift and get past some more electro fences and avoid grunts. You need health. So what we're going to do is get on this lift, go all the way to the top, and wait for this electro fence to trigger, and then move all the way to the bottom. Then move up as soon as it's finished. You can die on this section. I've died on it, Fletcher's died on it, it's very dangerous. If you get cornered by a grunt throwing a grenade or too many things are in your way, use one of your emergency M's here. That's why you're meant to have 3, so you can use 2 on the boss. I'm just going to go through again. So you'll see this time what I do without using the M's on the tanks. You can see I've got medals left here. I'm going to be able to buy a 5th M. It's not really time bound to do that because there are health options, there are other ways of doing things, but if it helps you conquer the game for the first time, then by all means do it. Damage boost there, there. 1 square over diagonal. I'm just going to find this comfy spot here and kill it like that. And again, just going to go out nice and wide, and then get in. Let's say for argument's sake I need to go in here. Why not? Now if you've got high health you can actually just walk straight through this dynamite, but bear in mind that's going to affect how you handle the electro fences. I just managed to skip that dynamite, which is very hard to do. Don't rely on doing that at all. It is nearly impossible. Make sure to keep flicking and firing. When you get to here you can start to fire at the door to make sure you're not waiting too long. Angle up because there's a grunt there. And in this case I can damage boost twice, but if you've got this sort of health left, be careful with these doors. You know, don't walk into a wall of fire because it's very easy to end up with very, very little health left. Particularly on this top corridor here, you'll often get hit by one of these guys. Wait it out if you need to. Because this looks like a lot of health, but it isn't. So, into here, make sure to shoot all these grunts, come back. Come back again. And as I say, if you get stuck, if you need to use an emergency M to avoid a grenade, don't be afraid to. Then, destroy all these crates, make sure you get this gold med crate here, and come out to the side of that dynamite, and destroy the door. And then you're on to the final boss, which is the ICBM. So, you should have at least 3 M's here, 2 would be okay. And you're going to have these 2 missile turrets firing at you constantly and you can't kill them. So what we're going to do is use the M's to get invincibility frames and just stand straight in front of the ICBM and pummel it to death. So, make sure to avoid all of these walking around. There'll be a music cue you can listen out for when to start moving into them, which is here. So now, make sure all your bullets are within the ICBM's hitbox, and then when the next lot of missiles goes to hit you, use an M instead and then just start mashing fire. And then again when they're going to hit you, fire. And again when they're going to hit you, fire. And then just keep mashing, and that's it. That's the game. Let's say you've only got 2 M's left. There's a little trick you can do where in the first part of getting hit, you're going to go here, like this. Move up, hit him and you're still invincible, and then the same as before, hit, and that'll do. So you're using the invincibility frames from here to go blown back to here. If for whatever reason, if anything goes wrong, if you've only got 1 M, you're in a bit of trouble here. Hopefully you've got full health. Do this. fire there, duck in, duck out, duck out, duck out. Like that. If you can do all those things, you should be able to complete Mercs in about 14 to 15 minutes. And if you do, then congratulations. Once you've done that, you'll be able to start cutting down on the ends you use. You'll be able to start using health points less that are scattered throughout the game. And then we've got a Discord which I can post a link to as well. You're most welcome in there. You can post your runs, you can get some tips. I would love to see any of you guys watching this video, even just for a few minutes, pick the game up, because it's fantastic to run.